Hi there and welcome to Freehand Architecture. Let's talk about how to draw confident lines. So let's get to it. Why do you need to draw confident lines? Well, freehand drawing is the staple of architectural drawing. So basically the freehand sketching is composed of lines, okay? And people associate that if you're good at sketching, then you know how to draw. But we know that's not really the truth because there's also technical drawing. I know you just want to learn how to draw, right, in front of others and boom, problem solved. But there's a bit more to it than that, okay? So in this video, in this lecture, I will teach you and obviously you will get all the information you need to know how to draw confident line drawing, but to fix the problem behind the problem as well. So here's a couple of examples. Look, these drawings obviously have, although they have hatching, the line drawing is the most important part of the specific architectural sketch or drawing. So let's talk about the general theory of how your mind works, because that I know it is a bit abstract, but it's the main way of understanding why you are how you are, why you are having this specific sticking point in your skill set, right? And then you can make the shift that will help you get to the next level, right? Maybe you're an architect that, although you finished school, you still don't know how to draw. This is going to help you understand why. So surprise, surprise, you've got 3 brains in one, right? That's very nice to hear. Basically, the way your mind works is you've got a physical brain, an emotional brain, and an intellectual brain, and they work together, right? And does this matter for line drawing? Of course, because you first need to feel the inspiration, right, to do it. Then you understand the principles, the intellectual principles, and then you go and take action and apply the principles and advice. And obviously learning this stuff will make it very clear for you why you're having a sticking point and where you've got natural talents, right? Stuff that nobody can basically get. So these 3 brains that you've got, right, the 3 brains, they aren't in equal proportion. That's the most important thing you need to know. Basically, from what I observed at all my students and at myself as well, you've got a genius brain, which is very good, a secondary one which can be trained, and the third one which is going to kind of fail on you, right? It's going to kind of cause trouble. Okay, let's talk about the stereotypes that I usually get as students. Okay, because we can link the concept of 3 brains with, real life examples. So maybe you are like this. You're an emotional brain, right, person with a physical brain and then an intellectual, okay? So this means you feel a lot, you're quite talented, you're ambitious, but you can't connect the dots. So basically, you can't use the abstracting function as well as somebody that would be a bit more intellectual. That's fine. The solution is to follow the guidance, okay, that you get from me, because that's going to basically lift you up. Or maybe this stereotype: you're an intellectual, secondary emotional, and then physical. This is, I think, the stereotype of the architect. So basically, you imagine a lot, and you like to delve deep to really feel, right, the specific topics, to really get a thorough understanding. But then you're having trouble taking action and applying the wisdom, right? Because obviously at the end of the day, this is why architectural drawing and architecture is interesting, because it doesn't matter what you do, it matters that you hand in, a project or a drawing that is, right, relevant. So again, the solution is to follow the guidance I offer, and obviously, I'm really keen on taking massive action. And just a bit about me really fast. I'm intellectual, physical, and emotional. So basically, you kind of see a bit of, the obsessive, focus on the intellectual part, which is good. The physical is about really taking action, like getting skill sets and skills. But then obviously, sometimes I might be a bit harsh in my criticism or feedback, or comes across as harsh, although it's not intentional, etc. Right? Right. That's very nice. The emotions fall sometimes, but this is something I feel on the inside, but I usually push myself through it and get back on track. Right, next. Okay, so obviously knowing this stuff is going to speed things up for you, right? You know how to make things work in your advantage. And obviously you've got a couple of gifts that you can bring to the table which are unique. And these are a couple of personality systems that are going to help you. MBTI, if you ever heard of this. People say it's not true, it's 100% true. I don't know why. I stopped asking myself why, but it makes sense. You've got like a cognitive pattern that you obviously can grow and develop. Although MBTI is kind of restrictive, it's very, very useful. Gene keys, look this up, it's very good. Epigenetics is basically studying how to unleash potential within a latent potential within a gene. And this is again really, crazy stuff, right? But it's really good and it's true. Look this up as well. And human design, this is probably the most weird of all of them. But this kind of teaches you how to basically live. There's like 9 energy centers in your body, and some of them are on, some of them are off, and you basically need to stick to your pattern and your kind of strategy of drawing in this case. Okay, right, next let's talk about the 4 pillars of architectural drawing. And careful, talent alert. This is just a little sketch I did really fast, not very interesting, but there's BS regarding talent. Everybody thinks you need to be talented. No, that's just stupid. Your talent comes from your own unique combination of who you are, right? And then you express it through skill sets. So number 1, freehand drawing line types. Okay, so obviously you've got a couple of different line types. You've got construction, contour, and thick lines. And obviously construction lines are from the pencil's own weight. The contour lines are, giving contour, and thick lines are used to get the expressive effect. For technical drawing, we're not talking about technical right now. It's obviously used for those specific shadow and section graphics. Here's a couple of examples, right? So you see I've started from a thumbnail, I sketched like a really quick sketch, then I went for contour, then I hatched, and then I re-thickened, okay? Okay, so and obviously you can see that at the end of the day, the line drawing is the most important thing, okay? The 4-step formula to draw anything. So this is the formula that I kind of created to be able to literally draw anything. So you need to fill the page with freehand lines, and then you obviously thicken them to get construction, to get contour lines, and then you hatch, and then you re-thicken. Construction, contour, hatching, re-thickening, boom. It's what you need to do, and it sounds very boring and simple, but trust me, it works. It's really good for when you're drawing stuff like this, complex stuff. It helps you manage the chaos. Because when you see stuff like this, especially when you need to shift from one subject to the other, you think that it's impossible to do. It's not impossible. You need to order it and understand what's important and what isn't. Okay, so what makes a drawing look good? The 3rd pillar in architectural freehand drawing. Okay, freehand line drawing. You need to understand that there's a correct part, and there's obviously a more of an expressive part. So you need to draw correct perspective, correct shadows, correct hatching. Again, freehand line drawing is kind of 80% of line drawing. Freehand line drawing is 80% of architectural drawing. So obviously it fits in. Okay, you need to know perspective in order to basically be good at line drawing, to have that clear line drawing. You see there's an example of a perspective mistake, a small little box. There's many examples of perspective mistakes and graphics mistakes, but again, line drawing wise, you need to understand perspective. The expressive part, of course, the second part 2, so to speak, of what makes a drawing look good. obviously you need to get a really good expressive line drawing, which is going to translate in a very good, final drawing. Although you have hatching as well, graphics come on top of the line drawing. Right, so uncomfortable truths that you need to kind of master. This is the fourth pillar of freehand drawing. So you'll always struggle with freehand drawings. You'll never get 100% correct lines. You can't do that. You're basically an organism on planet Earth, right? And we're not robots. We can't be perfect, and we don't need to be perfect. That's the good part. 80% of drawing is going to always be the same, and 20% is unique. I guess it's quite repetitive at this stage. And by the way, there's if we are talking about 80-20, there's the thing that 80% of a drawing is line drawing. So again, it's very important to understand that you always struggle with this, and it's a important and large part of architectural drawing, and it's fine. Okay, it's 100% fine. And the graphics, which come on top of the line drawing, I know I'm being a bit extreme here, but these graphic techniques, no idea why, you're caught in the moment sometimes and you forget to apply them, but they work. Okay, even for obviously line drawing, that clear. Sometimes forget that you need to thicken the line drawing because hatching is going to come on top of it, right? And obviously thickening it is going to come across as very confident, right? But obviously now you know that it's just because it's part of a process. It's not just a end in itself, right? So number 4 of uncomfortable truths. Again, nobody can help you with this. You see these compositions, my students really try their best. These compositions look kind of weird, but yeah, a step in the right direction, so you have to take action. So let's go for a couple of confident line drawing exercises. So number 1, this is going to be a exercise that I use for the lesson on thumbnail sketches. Basically just sketch a couple of these thumbnails, keep the pencil on your page, right? You don't lift the pencil, and try to go for a constant line gradient, right? So you press on that pencil and let loose, press on, let loose, right? And let's go for this exercise right now. Next up, we will be sketching rocks. These are foreground elements, and they're not colored, let me tell you, but they are good, a good extra element to your drawings. Okay, so the shadowed faces are obviously a light gray, but they need to have a bit of a gradient, so they look like they would be going around, varying their angles towards the sunlight, which in turn varies the intensity of the shadowed face. Sorry, quick sip of water. Right, to create a bit of that illusion of spatial depth. Okay, good. Just a bit more detailing here for the final rock. Very delicate gradients again that create this this illusion of depth. Now let's try to draw a landscape perspective with a tree. So you got this terraced area. Okay, so it's got inclined planes, horizontal planes, inclined again, right? And we will be throwing a tree in there, and we'll be hatching everything in colored crayons. Okay, so the tree trunk, again, careful with the line drawing. It needs to be very delicate, right? That's going to create a very delicate line drawing. Okay, good. Again, careful with symmetry as well. You see exercise number 1, the exercise with, not number 1, but the line drawing exercise, extremely important. This is what gets you this free-flowing line. Okay, let's add these lines that show incline. Okay, and adding more elements as we go. Yeah, so just hatching that shadowed part of it there. Some falling leaves. Now obviously be hatching the branches as well. They're going to have a cast shadow on top of them, right, for the top part over there. And more lines.
Okay, horizon line, bottom third. Ideally one of these points is off the page. Okay, right, make this like a bow with an ellipse here. Now it goes down and down and down. It's got this neck part here with a different ellipse, and then the columns start popping up. Now this is going to require quite a bit of detailing, which is fine because it's fun. Now, this needs to go in perspective, but it doesn't need to stand out as much, you know. This little corner here. Right. Right, and now we need to divide this, because we will be adding those decorative motifs we sketched earlier. And diagonals for each. What? No. Here. Just a large one. Here. Here. And we will be throwing in these decorative motifs. Also, a good idea would be to sculpt this in, right? This goes in. So let's start thickening lines. Oh man, this isn't as good as I want it to be. Obviously, you know, it's the thing with drawing is you'll never, if you don't sketch for a while, your skills are going to go, you know, are going to, go back, are going to regress. But, because you know that, you'll be ready. Let's add a bit more decoration, so diagonals goes here. And let's add, I don't know, actually not that crazy about this, like a little flower decorative motif. Let's finish these bad boys up so we can start hatching after. As you progress, and you can apply it in compositions, in different stuff, interior perspectives. Careful with the curvature. These curved lines need to be sort of like to get more intensity as they arch, right? You can't keep them the same.
Okay, so let's go for line drawing exercise number 2. We are going to start sketching a Doric capital, right? Just at line drawing level, no hatching. Okay, and this is going to help you basically get used to drawing architectural objects and not just abstract stuff. Let's go for it. Okay, so let's go for some extra topics of study, which I think are quite important for you to know. Basically, again, it's line drawing, but you realize that line drawing is just a part of architectural drawing, a very important part, right? Well, obviously, freehand sketching is going to fit quite nicely into that. You need to basically be able to sketch on the spot. You need to have the creative freedom or perceived creative freedom of basically being spontaneous. And yeah, sketching is very good to put things together, to synthesize them into something, right? Construct a perspective. It's got obviously theory and a couple of examples, but yeah, you need to understand how to draw correct volume in 3D. This is all line drawing. This is all made by basically lines. They're not freehand lines. They are done with a ruler because it's kind of a technical drawing, but yeah, it's good. This technical drawing is basically expressive, although it's been done with a ruler. You see, it could go quite far. You can take the perspectives really far, and you mix freehand drawing along with the drawing which has been done with a ruler, and obviously you get the expressive, confident line drawing. A bit of composition. Obviously, you've got a bit of theory on composition. You see, this is a really it's not quite rough, but it's like an abstract composition I did, and obviously you can take things really far. Again, you can take composition really far with the line drawing specifically, and by now you've probably realized that if you understand line drawing, even the the freehand and the ruler one, right? Which, by the way, I recommend you focus on the freehand one because that's the most important, the hardest to get, and you have the most of a learning curve for it. If you understand, the confident line drawing, then you can take things to the next level with everything. Just a bit about hatching. Obviously, hatching, you are tempted to think it's important. It obviously complements the line drawing, but it's, again, as I said before, it's just 20% of the final drawing, so don't focus on it too much. You see the design on the right hand side in the picture, it looks good just with line drawing and a bit of shadows. Obviously for hatching you need to use mixed hatching, smudged mixed with textured hatching, gradients obviously towards the foreground so the drawing jumps off the page, and again, hatching complements the line drawing. You need to have that clear and crisp line drawing, right? You need to use the graphic techniques that we will discuss in a future lecture, right? A bit of color composition. Obviously, color composition is a bit of a complicated topic, but we can go for simple complementaries. You just use standard complementaries. I recommend blue and orange, and yeah, these work together. So, short recap. So, a short introduction to freehand drawing and line drawing. A bit about the general theory on how your mind works, so you can get past this complicated and very emotional and personal sticking point, which I know that not being able to draw, confident lines, as an architect, or if you're interested in this stuff, is right. This is something that needs to be repaired. Okay, the fact that you've got 3 brains in one, and the personality systems that are going to help you with that. The 4 pillars of architectural drawing: line types, 4-step formula, what makes a drawing look good, the uncomfortable truths, the confident line drawing exercises that we did, and I recommend that you do over and over and over again so you get as much practice as possible, and the extra topics of study that will really help you understand where line drawing fits: sketching, constructed perspective and compositions, and a bit on hatching and color compositions. So if you've got any questions, just leave them in the message box below, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, draw nicely.